everyone, welcome along then to SAFC Fan TV, and it's another edition of the Sunday Bunch Live. So today we've got with us, we got Dino, we got Sean Middleton, we got the Mad Mistake, Michael Bowers, Jacob Kirkbride, and myself, Lee Philly. It's the whole team back together. Hello, everybody. Woo!
Hello.
Hey, lads. All right.
How are the lads?
So, we're going to be discussing the game yesterday, and of course, everybody's going to be over the moon and really happy. No doom and gloom, because of course it was Sunderland 1, Peterborough 0. And we are open on the live chat. If you want to join in, get your questions on there, and we'll do our best to answer it. I want to start then. I know there's been a lot of criticism of the performance and everything yesterday, and we can't do right for doing wrong. We go out and we get 3 points again, and people are still complaining, which means we'll go straight to you, Dino, and see what you what you thought then,
Mr. Doom.
Once again, it was a game of two halves, wasn't it? I mean, first half we got battered, in my opinion. I mean, Lee Burge kept winning it, in my opinion. He made some really good saves in the first half. I don't think we even had a chance in the first half. Don't get us wrong, I felt like we kept the ball a bit better than normal, but we weren't, when we were going forward, there was like just no tempo. Like when them attacked us, there was pace there, a bit flip, but when we attacked them, it was very slow. Charlie White wasn't doing anything up front. But Hume and O'Neill were getting forward really well. I thought Scowen, it was good to see Scowen starting. I didn't think he had his best game ever. He was all right in little parts, but he miskicked the ball out 3 times, which should be impossible for a professional footballer. But second half will come out. The penalty, you know what? I've seen them not given, because to be honest, it looked like Hume was sliding in anyway, so you could have easily given a free kick to them. But luckily it goes our way, because we'd never get penalties our way, but it's finally good to see we're getting the penalty. Grant Ledbetter, what a bloke to step up, really good penalty. Keeper went the right way, but Ledbetter put it right in the corner. Overall, I'm still looking for better performances on the pitch, but it's a win regardless, and it's against a team who are meant to be up there, so I'll take it.
Nice one. Mad Mistake, you're trying to get in there?
I just
waving.
I just thought we weren't live. That was all. I can't find us on the live.
Well, we are live. We've got people coming through on the live chat.
Well, I can't find us. Never mind. It's not working on my phone.
You want to buy a modern phone is what you need. So, just very quickly on the chat, we want to say hi to fan of the show, Casey Cameron Jude says, "Evening, lads." So hello to her down there. You're right, Dino. Game of two halves. From what I saw of it, first half, I mean, we should have been a couple down. I mean, we you know, I mean, they must have. How they didn't score is beyond me. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, on to you, Sean. What did you think?
It was just a typical performance really of late. The first 3 games have been the same really. I thought that Johnson, Clark Harris, Smolix were just like in that Dembele. He was turning us inside out. He looked a real threat when he had the ball. And I got to half time. Nil. I'll never know. Like I just couldn't see us not conceding that first half. We got wide. We looked wide open. We carried a bit of luck like as well. And there's been a lot of criticism towards Parkinson with his tactics, but Michael made a good point about this in the WhatsApp group. He was bang on. In fact, if we'd set up to play a bit more attacking in the game, I think they would have ripped us to shreds. So I think the tactics what Parkinson had was just sort of to like contain them a little bit, because they had plenty of pace on that side. I think if we went for it a little bit more, we would have left ourselves open. And I agree with what Michael said. He was spot on. I think they would have beat us easy. Like, so I think, to be fair, I know Parkinson gets a lot of criticism being negative, but I think he got his tactics actually right for the players we've got, the players they've got. If we went out and went for it more, we would have definitely gotten beat. I know we rode our luck with the penalty. I haven't seen the angle I've seen it. they don't show great replays, like, but it looked really harsh on them, like. But as Dino's just said there, you'll take it because we've had plenty of bad luck in this league over the last two seasons, which you guys will all agree. Referees of the Mickey Mouse, they're a joke. But we got lucky yesterday, and Peterborough are a good side. Like I say, their front three will cause anybody problems. And I think to keep a clean sheet, we did right our look. Bailey White was composed and calm at the back. Charlie White, I didn't even know if he even had a touch. But I keep on saying this every week. If you're not getting the service from the midfield, then how are you going to get a chance? That's a big worry for me. Our defence is sorted, but the midfield is just not creative at all. But I'll take it. It's another win. It's 3 points against a side we haven't beaten the last 2 years. I try to take the positives, and it's on the chart next week, which I think will be the toughest away game of the season.
Right, on the chat, Adam French says spot on, Dino, with your analysis. David Walker says we only had one shot on target all game, and that was the penalty, which I wasn't aware of. And he also says White would not get a game for South Shields. Mad Mistake, you seem quite happy. You was looking at your phone there and you was giving it that get in. Is one of your bets coming up or what?
No, I found the live stream. Finally found the live stream.
Yeah, we're all good, lads.
Comments. Well, yesterday, we wouldn't have scored in a month of Sundays if we didn't get that lucky penalty. And if it wasn't for Denver Hume and Grant Ledbetter and a solid defence, we wouldn't have won the match. But hopefully we're only going to play that way against the really good sides like Peterborough, and it's good tactics if that's the case. Now, is Phil Parkinson going to be the new George Graham of League One? Because it's not going to be exciting football. The strikers are not going to get any assists. He's going to rotate the strikers. They're going to be the lowest scoring strikers probably in League One history. But if we continue to win 1-0 or 2-0, and maybe have 2 shots in the match and get 2 goals, and we constantly do that week in, week out, and you win the league at the end of the season, all the Sunderland fans are going to be happy. But we're used to free-flowing, exciting football. We want to see attacking football. Now, are we expecting too much of the Phil Parkinson? I want to say how brilliant the defence was. I thought the defence is absolutely amazing at this moment. I think we've got 3 good centre-backs. I think Denver Hume's having his best season, brilliant season at the moment. He's come on loads over the pre-season. It looks a different player to me. And we got Luke O'Neill on the right-hand side who's getting back to defend well. So we look solid at the back. Lee Burge is looking better. We just need to find some way of supplying a striker, whoever that striker is going to be. We just need possibly maybe one change in midfield. And for me, it's getting a playmaker in. Will Phil Parkinson ever do that, or will he stick to the George Graham tactics? I think he's probably going to stick to these tactics throughout the whole of the season, which means we're going to have to rely on midfielders scoring the goals. But I'm happy with 3 points. I'm over the moon with 3 points. I'm over the moon for Grant Ledbetter. I tell you, absolutely over the moon for him scoring that penalty. It was a fantastic finish. And I thought my man of the match was Denver Hume. Brilliant, brilliant afternoon for Denver Hume.
Right, good point. Back on the chat very quickly. Adopted Mackham says 93 points to go for Philly being in his boxes. If I can do it in my boxes, I'm over the moon. I thought we was going full naked. Nigel Dunn, friend of the show, says we're making more chances in midfield, which is much better than last season. So you mentioned George Graham there. So as we mentioned George Graham, we can move on to our closet Arsenal fan for the next recap.
this is getting taken out of proportion. This now,
Jacob, your view on the game then.
They're only just down the road. I've got to show a soft spot to them. Yeah, a bit of a mixed performance. Even though we did get the 3 points, it is a massive win. Don't get me wrong, because they were one of the favourites to go off at the start of the season. But I just feel in terms of like our finishing at the other end of the pitch, particularly in the striker department, if we don't address these issues now, because we're only 3 games in, then when is Phil Parkinson going to address these issues? Because we can't rely on playing this way throughout the course of the season. It's simply not going to work. We have to change things up, and over the course of time, exactly the same thing will happen last season, where teams will tactically start to figure us out. But I'll take the 3 points. Once again, in the midfield, played very well, controlled the middle of the park, was helping Josh Scowen out at times because he wasn't having the best of games, and also Ledbetter took his penalty absolutely brilliantly. Denver Hume's crossing a lot better this week. His first touch when the ball was switched to him on the left-hand side was also fantastic to see as well. Chris Maguire going off early on in the first half, I don't think helped us. I think it might have been a different game. But overall, I think we can just be happy that we've got the 3 points now. But having Bailey Wright in the back three, I think he's too good for League One. He's such a fantastic centre-half to have. And this back three we're playing right now, I think if he's fit and he's consistent over the course, I think we'll have the best clean sheet record this season because he's just such a fantastic centre-half. But a massive win yesterday, but definitely improvements that we do need to work on.
Right. Back to the chat then. Jeff Turner says Bristol Rovers and Peterborough have fast players that cost very little and caused us problems. Many other teams in League One are similar, yet we are so slow and continue to buy slow players. So whatever you think to that. Michael, it was a 1-0 win yesterday. What did you think?
Well, good points that everybody's raised. I said in my own video, I think in the first half, it was actually quite an even game. I don't think Peterborough battered us as a lot of people thought. I think that they had the good chance early on when Clark Harris put the shot wide, which he should have scored. Let's be honest, he should have scored that. And there was one effort where Lee Burge looked a bit shaky, where there was a shot came straight at him, but he pushed the ball back into a danger zone. But apart from that, I don't actually remember Peterborough really going at us that much, not apart from like shots that were straight and comfortably at Lee Burge. I thought Sunderland going forward, yeah, obviously it wasn't very good. I think the biggest issue is I think we created. I won't go as far as say we created chances, but I think we created opportunities. Now, maybe I'm sounding like an idiot. That might be the same thing. We created opportunities. It was just that Charlie White wasn't attacking the ball going into the box. Now, to me, that's not us not creating chances. That's our forward players not taking responsibility and trying to actually make the best of those opportunities. Second half, look, there was a spell not long before we got the penalty where it was all Peterborough for about 15, 20 minutes for me. I don't know where I was watching a different game than anyone else, but I was, obviously Peterborough, I think, smashed the bar from a 25-yard free kick, and Lee Burge was scrambling for that. So we were fortunate there. The penalty, it's one of those, for me, it's a 50-50. If it's against you, you're probably going to feel aggrieved by it, and I can see why Peterborough would feel it wasn't a penalty. But from our perspective, you could say Denver Hume had his. I looked at it from a different angle, the angle from near where the goal that we scored was, and Hume looked like he got the ball, and it looked like he was just bundled, slightly bundled over. So you get them given, you get them don't. Like Dino said, the referees and the officials in this league are absolutely garbage, and unfortunately they're going to be that way. As for the tactics, like Sean said, I mentioned in the group chat earlier that. Did people expect us to be swashbuckling against who I think have got the best attack in the league? Now, if we went at them, had more shots, but lost 2-3-0, would people be happy? That's the it's like, oh well, the shots were good, but we didn't win. We got out from the game. It's like 2 weeks ago, we had like 25 shots against Bristol Rovers. Oh, we drew 1-1. Oh, but the shot count was great. Look, obviously that I'm not trying to take the make out of anyone. I do get yesterday it was not very good in terms of a spectacle, but it wasn't going to be. If Sunderland, if that was, we obviously got a bit lucky that we scored a pen. That's fair enough, but you can only make what you've got. And if let's be honest, if you were offered a 1-0 scrappy win, 5-3, you'd be naive to think people wouldn't have taken it. If this continues down the line, if we can play like this against the likes of Rochdale or the teams that are down nearer the bottom, then that's fair enough. I understand that. Against Peterborough, though, I said it was going to be a tight game one way or the other. We've won the game. That's the team we haven't beaten since we've dropped into League One before yesterday. So for psychologically, that's a good win. And regardless of how Peterborough lost Accrington and us, they will be up there. Once their strike force gets firing, they will be up there. So to beat them at 7 points from the first three, I'm still disappointed with the Bristol Rovers result. But Oxford and Peterborough, if someone said to you after Bristol Rovers, you'll beat Oxford and Peterborough while keeping 2 clean sheets, regardless of the performances, you'd have snapped your hand off for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Madness State, you're trying to get in there?
Yeah, the only issue I see is because yesterday we had like one plan. That was to go down the wings and then sort of hoof the ball high into the box. Now, 100% of the time, because I counted it, Peterborough's headers cleared the line every single time because we're too slow going forward. So all the Peterborough's defenders can get back. They've got men behind the ball and they can clear every single cross that comes over. Now, that's the only issue. For me, if we go behind, like we did against Bristol Rovers in the match, we're going to struggle to score a goal doing that kind of tactics because we're too slow. There's only Denver Hume has any kind of pace, a little bit of pace going forward, a bit of magic trickery and get behind the defence. Apart from that, on the right-hand side, Luke O'Nine's crosses were always high. Scowen's crosses were always high. Maguire, before he went off, couldn't pass for Toffee. So, unfortunately, luckily, we got a penalty yesterday because we wouldn't have scored and went to Sunders, I'm telling you.
All right, just quickly, we'll go to Dino, then we'll come to you, Michael. Dino?
Okay.
I must admit, that was the worst crossing display by all of our players.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I would say Hume probably put in the best crosses in the most dangerous areas, but White was nowhere near the crosses to get on the end of them because he's hiding behind players. He's not a player who you want to cross a ball into because he cannot win a header and he doesn't put himself in the right positions. But the crossing was absolutely awful, man. I mean, Sunday League football players can cross better than that. I don't understand. I mean, how long are you going to persist with playing White up front? I mean, it doesn't work, and it's shown in the last couple of games. It doesn't work with Wyke. So you either go with Graham or Greg. For me, Wyke has to be the third choice striker. He can't be the first. He has to be the last one. You've got to start with either Greg or Graham, but I would probably prefer Greg.
Right, Michael, then we'll come to you, Jacob.
Okay. Well, Charlie White for me will be first choice striker in the cup games, just so he gets nowhere near the league team. But Dino's right. I think the crossing, I said it in my own video, the crossing, apart from like to Denver Hume, was appalling yesterday. It was abysmal. The amount of times we hoofed the ball in the box for the sake of it, rather than actually trying to find any of our players, was ridiculous. Where I would slightly disagree with Terry is that, yes, yeah, going forward, obviously we're not the quickest, but for me, again, the fact we put crosses into the box, even some of the good crosses, Wyke wasn't attacking them. That's not down to us being slow going forward. That's down to him not taking responsibility and trying to jump. Because come on, Wyke's what, 6 foot? There's no excuse why he shouldn't be able to jump for a ball, you know. And if I actually would go as far as to say that if he jumped for a couple of the crosses that came into the box, he would have at least had an effort, a header. It may have been blazed way over the bar, knowing Charlie Wyke, but at least he would have had an effort towards goal on or off target. That's the only thing did we get a bit lucky? Like I said, yes, but yeah, just move on. I'm just going to stutter into nothing.
Right, before we go to you, Jacob, David Algar on the chat says, yes, Michael, you're spot on with your analysis there. Jacob, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, I agree with Michael. On the left-hand side at the moment, I think with Denver Hume, particularly, like his crossing improved yesterday as the game went along. But on the right-hand side, when you see Luke O'Nien and Jordan Willis, at times yesterday, they were just like so confused in terms of who was going to make that overlapping run. Like Willis wasn't doing it enough, or do we need Willis to pick up the ball and Hume to make the overlapping runs instead in order to cross it? It's just... There was just so much lack of communication on that side yesterday. And even we did cross the ball. I remember there was a moment towards the end of the first half where I think Jordan Willis had put the best ball into the box that we'd seen so far in the game. Charlie Wyke just lacks so much desire to even jump up and head the ball. It's just you would have thought Charlie Wyke at the moment. Not for me. I'm not sure why he was starting the game yesterday. I don't get the criticism on fans on social media towards Aidan O'Brien at the moment. They're saying that, from what I've seen of him so far, he's not good. We're only like 3 games into the season. I think he needs a consistent run of games to get better and better. But Charlie Wyke, we've already seen that, and he's not doing it for us. And I don't know what Will Grigg will be thinking now, considering he can't get in the team over someone like Charlie Wyke. I dread to think what he's thinking right now, but that is an issue we need to address at the moment.
I'm gonna come on to that anyway, Jacob. Just now, Mad Mister, are you trying to get in there? Just waving at everybody.
Yeah, the crossing was awful. Like everybody says, high balls into the box, and fine well we got small players up front, and Charlie Wyke. White men can't jump, simple as, right? But you're on about O'Brien getting a run of games. What about a striker getting a run of games? What about Will Grigg getting a run of games? It's pathetic. not giving the striker a run of games. How low is he giving these? The confidence for these strikers is unbelievable. Phil Parkinson doesn't believe in strikers at all.
Well, we're going to, like I said, we're going to come on to those. We said how impressive the defense was yesterday, and that Wayne Duran says Tom Flanagan upped his game this season. Now he has competition for his place, looking very solid and composed so far. Myself, a bit like Michael, first half, and we could have been 2 down, but I don't think we actually got battered. Second half, I thought we was okay. It was an ugly win. It wasn't a penalty in my eyes. I don't think it was. Was my heart in my mouth when Grant Ledbetter was going to take it? Of course it was. But, you know, they're a team, they're a good team, and an ugly win. You know, when you win ugly, it's a good thing, and it's one of them things where we get those scrappy points. And if Phil Parkinson's tactics were to play it like that, it wasn't pretty. But 3 points at the end of the day is what it's all about. And I thought everybody would be all happy on here, and there'd be no complaining, and up by Easter, banners out and all that. Right, go on, Mad Mistake.
We deserve the 3 pointers as much as the Mags deserve the point today.
Well, are you saying we didn't deserve the 3 points then?
I think a draw on balance would have been the best result, to be fair. I thought Peterborough in the second half were the better side. I thought we weren't, apart from, we were good with Denver Human, good with Grant Ledbetter, and good with the defence, but we didn't create enough. We didn't have one shot on target apart from the penalty, which is embarrassing. It is really embarrassing to have one shot on target at home, and it has to be a penalty. What's going on?
Well, I still think we did enough in the second half to justify it. I thought it was all right. Michael, you're trying to get in there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's one thing I agree and disagree with Terry on. The thing I agree with him on is I did think we were a bit fortunate to win the game. I do think a draw would have been, on balance, a fair result. But again, the shots thing comes back to what I said before. 2 weeks ago, Bristol Rovers, 25 shots, 1-1. You know, and even then, last week against Oxford, we had way more shots than they did. I think we had something like between 15 and 20 shots. Have people conveniently forgotten that this is only the first game of the season where we've had less than 10 shots a game? Like, again, it's by Peterborough, Oxford are okay, but by Peterborough are quite easily, for me, the best team we've played in these 3 matches. And again, if we went full throttle at them, we would have got murdered with the players that we had on the break. And
right.
it's not a dig at you, like my mistake. I'm just trying to.
Yes, it is, Michael. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just annoying me that people are going on. Oh, we didn't have that many shots. We won the game. Like, we're not going to play like that every single match. We're not going to, and we're not going to face Peterborough every single week, are we? We're not going to face a team like that every week.
Football's results business, man. Football's a results business.
Exactly.
I mean, if we're grinding at results like all season, I couldn't give a shit how we win games. If we play like that and win every game and gone up, I couldn't give a toss about how we win games. If we win them, it's an ugly side of the game that you need to win. You know what I mean? That's what
the problem is. All right,
ugly.
Mad Mistake, you're one to be in, and then we'll come to you, Jacob.
Yeah. The problem is, I agree with Jacob. We need to address the strikers. We can't rely on 1-0 wins. We can't rely on the midfield scoring all of our goals. We can't rely on ugly wins. There's going to be times where we need strikers to perform, and we're going to be found out. We may have had 20-odd shots against Bristol Rovers, but how many saves did Bristol Rovers keeper actually make? Can you remember any? I can't remember any.
But listen,
quite a good few of them he made, actually.
But is it not the fact that we was playing Peterborough, which is why we had to get an ugly win, you know, against those teams? Quickly, Jacob, you're trying to get in there.
Yeah, this is a question to all you guys. What Terry touched on there about, was it we had one shot on target at home? The way how I see, particularly the state that football's in right now, with no fans allowed in the stadium, is there such a thing as a home and an away team? Because for me, it's just a pitch and 2 goals at the end of it. I just feel,
Good
question.
No, I think there's still, for me, there's still an advantage. You play on a pitch that you're used to playing on. There's different size pitches up and down the country. Yes, without a doubt, the fans are definitely give you an advantage when you're at home, but I still think there's an advantage to playing at home, familiar surroundings, the same pitch you're playing on than if you was playing away, though not as big an advantage as when you've got fans there for me. Dino? Well, Jacob asked the question there.
I asked Danny Collins this when he was on. I say, is there a big difference between home and away? Because I believe it's just a blade of grass with two goals on the end. And he said, well, you've never had 30,000 fans shouting at you, which is understandable. But at this moment in time, in this climate, I do believe the only advantage you've got is that you don't have to travel 4 to 5 hours to get to a stadium. That's the only advantage you've really got, because unless you're playing on like a tramyard pitch where the players aren't used to it, I mean, everyone should be used to playing on a silky smooth pitch with no bumps on it. I mean, Sunderland's pitch is immaculate. The best, probably the best pitch in both leagues, in the Championship and in the League One. So, I mean, every player should be like grateful to play on a pitch like that. So, no, there shouldn't be much of an advantage apart from the travel, really, in my opinion.
I don't think, for me, the travel's not a big issue, because everybody travels up the day before anyway, so it's not like you're traveling.
Some teams don't. Some teams can't afford it.
Oh, well,
Right now,
fair enough.
especially.
Go on, Mad Mistake.
I did a lot of races in my day where I travelled around the country and stayed in hotels. It's horrible staying in a hotel. You sleep much better in your own bed. So if you're playing at home and you're in your own bed, you've got your own normal routine. It's so much easier at home than travelling around the country, staying in a horrible hotel. The bedding's shite. It's uncomfortable. You don't sleep as good. It's not the same. Not the same. It's much better being in your own house, in your own bed, playing at home, for me anyway.
Fair dues. Sean, have you answered that one yet?
Well, I think, all teams are going to obviously deal with the no fan situation. I think, and a lot of people see our fans, when there's 30,000 fans and there's a misplaced pass and they start getting on the side and this, that, and the other. I think it could play in our hands. It could be better for us. But like you see, I think it's crap with no fans. But I don't think there's any disadvantage or any advantage. To be fair, I think there's no fans in the stadium. It's 2 goals. It's the same pitch, and some pitches are not good as the others. But I don't think there's any advantages or disadvantages. To be fair, I just think it's just playing football with no fans in the stadium. It's crap, but it's just the way it is at the minute. But hopefully,
right, fair dues. Michael?
I think, it depends what way you look at it. I would say that at home, the crowd can be an advantage, and I wouldn't say disadvantage. That's not the right word, but they can be. Players sometimes can buckle under the pressure of the home fans. Now, you could look at it in 2 ways. At home, we haven't got fans screaming down on X every single time a pass is misplaced. And like I said again, I'm not expecting people to be like, "Yeah, you've just misplaced a pass, get in." But I would,
Fan like Dino.
Oh god! But on the other hand, you could flip this round and say, away from home, a lot of teams some teams will still view us as a cup final, or at least a scalp that they want to claim. And if the fans will play a part in that. So does that mean that Sunderland technically should, in theory, have it easier away from home to actually try and beat some of these teams? Like, look at Oxford last week. I'm pretty certain, and you might call us mental for this, last week, I'm pretty certain we wouldn't have won as comfortably we did in the second half if there'd been a stadium there. I don't think we would have done. But that's just my own view on it.
Jacob, your views on it?
Yeah, I can understand what Bowers is saying. Right now, I think we should look to take advantage of it, but at the same time, it goes back to that debate. I think fans wouldn't care in the slightest if it wins us promotion, but if fans are allowed back in and then the form slightly dips, then it would look really bad on behalf of the players. But now, we should just try and take the advantages of it as we can. But at this moment in time, particularly watching live football away from watching Sunderland, it's just not the same. I really want the fans back. I miss them so much at the moment.
Right, quickly, Michael.
I was just going to say, well, isn't it apparently up to 6 months we're not allowed back in the ground? So potentially it's going to be more. So let's make sure we've won the league or won promotion by then. Yeah.
By then,
By
There you go.
Easter.
Let's make a good job, guys.
Our fans
I
are like,
hope anyway.
when you think about it, I mean, we've all been to games. I mean, the championship season, when it's not gone well, the Stadium Light can be a toxic place. Because, I mean, the fans can really get on the backs as well.
We abandoned our club then, remember?
Right. Quickly on the chat then, Danny, it says, somebody called Wee Philly says, loving Sean's sexy pink shorts. Right.
There's his picture.
Jack Lovitz, Burge had a blinder. He said, Glyn Jones said, Wyke couldn't get near a cross even if he was standing in a church. And
God.
One of you for you, Sean. Rory Heath. We missed power yesterday, and Sean can't deny it. Sean,
Definitely.
Here we go.
Definitely did not miss Matt Power yesterday. Absolutely not. He's the most pointless player I've ever known in our history. He's absolutely useless.
I've got a question then. I've got a question. So if we keep winning, does he stick Power straight back in the team if the team's fit?
I bet you, Dino. I bet he brings him back in for the next game against Charlton. I guarantee it.
He shouldn't. Unless Ledbetter is knackered, unless Ledbetter is injured or fatigued with his age, the only way Power should get back in. You shouldn't go over Scowen. I still think like Scowen's first start, he'd probably be a little bit nervous. He didn't have the best of games, but I think he offered more than Power, to be honest.
Right.
He's always positive.
Well, I'll tell you what then. I was going to leave this one for a little bit further down, but it's Bobby Cowley a little bit earlier on the live chat said, would we keep Ledbetter and Scowen in midfield? So we'll throw that to each of you. Mad mistake?
I would bring Max Power back in for Scowen. I thought Scowen was completely outrageous. I thought Scowen yesterday wasn't very good at all. I thought his passing wasn't very good. I thought his crosses wasn't very good. I don't know whether it was just an off day, but I'd rather have Max Power back on the side alongside Ledbetter and obviously use Scowen whenever one of the two are not fit enough to play. But also, I would love to see Dan Neil give him some time on the bench, even bring him in at the centre of midfield. Some fresh legs, some young legs. Let's see what he can do. Split the defence wide open, give Will Grigg a through ball. Grigg can score a hat-trick of through ball winners, whatever, but Power for me, Scowen back on the bench after yesterday's performance. Right. If Will Grigg's dropped after one match, then why does Scowen have to have a run of games?
Right. Okay, then. Before we pass this around, Liam Younger said, if we had Madger still with this team, then we'd be sorted, which is
absolutely.
That's a fair point. Jacob, would we keep Ledbetter and Scowen in midfield?
Yeah, I think he'll bring Power back in next game. I think Scowen didn't have the... Yeah, I think he'll bring him back in. I think the good thing to note is when Power comes back in, with Bailey Wright in the same side as well, there's two leaders on the pitch. Well, you could say three because Grant Ledbetter does wear his heart on his sleeve and really does show passion and pride on the pitch because he really does want to do well for this club. But one thing to note, particularly about Ledbetter, is over the course of because of the age he's at, tiredness will kick in and there will be periods where we may need to rest him in order for him to get back in the team again and be even stronger. So that's my concern at this rate. The better if Ledbetter becomes a more key member of the side, then at one stage we will have to look at giving him a rest. But right now, I can only praise Ledbetter's performances, but I do think his performances are even better when he is playing alongside Max Power.
Right then, fair enough. Quickly to the chat. Umar says we were poor but got 3 points, and that's the main thing, which I think we all agree on anyway. Thane SAFC, our friend from Thursday, says, all right, lads. Hiya, Thane. Thanks for tuning in.
Great lad.
Michael, would we keep Ledbetter and Scowen in midfield?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to change it at the moment. I still will never agree with Sean Deere that Max Power is rubbish because I don't think he is, and I'm going to stand by that. But I don't see any I don't see any reason why Leadbitter or Scowen. I mean, I know Scowen wasn't great yesterday, but I do think Scowen. I do get what my mistake's saying. Like, I don't think Will Grigg should have been dropped either. But I think Scowen should be getting a run of games because I think he might want to get up to speed and actually start showing what he's about. We got him from a championship team that was playing him regularly, so clearly we were missing a trick up until now. And where I will criticise Parkinson is that it's took one of his midfielders to get injured and another one to get suspended to finally give Scowen a start from minute one. But you know what it is? It would not surprise me if, in fact, I'm probably expecting Max Power to be back in there next week. And yeah, but like I said, I do agree with Jacob, though. I think that Leadbitter, as good as he's been recently, I don't think he can sustain that over the course of the season. And this is where I am behind Parkinson, but this is where I want him to start showing some intelligence here instead of saying, oh, this is working. Right, we'll play it again. Oh, Leadbitter was slightly not as good, but won. Okay, we'll play him again. Like, well, no. Recognize that Leadbitter might be knackered on the feet and need a rest and actually be proactive. The same thing I say every week about Parkinson, proactive.
Right then, quickly on the chat here, Gilesy says, hello to Gilesy, there you go, top YouTuber. Jacob was right, Leicester beat Man City 5-2 today, bang on. So, Jacob, there you go. So, Sean, we've got the choice of keeping Leadbitter and Scowen in midfield, or we could bring Max Power back in. I don't know which way this is going to go, but Sean, what do you think?
I wonder what he's going to say here.
Well, I agree with what Michael and Terry said actually about Scowen. He wasn't very good yesterday. He looked a bit rusty.
So you drop him for Power. You drop him for Power then, yeah?
No, definitely not. I think I agree with what they said, though. I mean, he wasn't great. But the thing about Scowen was, I actually could see him playing yesterday. When Power's playing, I'm like, Power, are you playing? Power, are you there? Power,
yes, he is.
Pink shorts.
No, at least we're saying Scowen yesterday, and I wasn't very good. But when I'm watching someone playing Powers in a team, I never know if he's actually on the pitch. I think Scowen needs to get a few games under his belt. The sharpness will be there. I think because he hasn't played regularly, you know what I mean? So
hiding behind the mic.
stick with the same squad. What's just kept a clean sheet against Peterborough. Going to the Charlton game, I know Power's going to come back in and he's going to drop Scowen. It's not going to do his confidence any good. But if we keep the same squad, like going to the Charlton game, I'll be confident. But if he brings Power back in, I'm not confident. Like, sorry.
Are you not gonna go to the matches anymore if he brings Power in?
Of course. Like you see, I'll get behind Power, but I've watched him for 2 years now. I've watched him for 2 years now, and I didn't have the offers the team. Like,
so Parkinson brings him back in, Sean, and we win next week. You wouldn't be complaining, would you?
No, absolutely not, Michael. Absolutely not.
Fair enough.
Right, man, mistake trying to get in there.
I want to ask Sean a question. Sean, what was the best performance, Oxford away or Peterborough at home?
I think I might know where he's going with this.
Yeah.
Well, I think Peterborough's a better size, so I think because of Michael was saying anyway, I agree with what you said. Peterborough, I mean, their front three
is the question. Come on.
What was the better performance?
Sean, the politics.
The better performance was the Oxford game, wasn't it? But I don't think they were at the races. Like,
so why was it a better performance against Oxford? Madam Mistake, would you like to tell us why?
Well, I just want to know, the question is, why are we going to drop a winning side against Oxford when the same player is available? If he's fit and he's available, why change a winning side, but then wanting to keep a lesser performance, even though we still win against Peterborough? What's the difference? I think the better performance was against Oxford with Power in the side, and we'll play good yesterday.
I think Oxford, we did play well that day. I personally believe they was at a day off and they weren't. And I think we just capitalised on that. I think Peterborough yesterday. I think Peterborough once they get going, there will be some team. Then they'll definitely be in the top six. Like, I mean, that front three is going to cause a lot of team problems.
Right. On to you then, Dino. Would you keep Leadbitter and Scowen in midfield?
The only change I would make if I had to was probably Leadbitter, because if Charlton have got a pacey centre midfield, you'd rather have Power in there because you've got more pace than Leadbitter. But I do agree. I don't think you should change a winning side unless you absolutely have to. I think Ledbetter has done all right the last 2 games. Fine, Scowen didn't have a great game yesterday, but every time he got the ball, he was trying to be positive. He was trying to move forward. He's looking for forward passes. When I see Power, he doesn't look for forward passes. He looks for the sideways pass and the backwards pass. So yeah, Scowen give the ball away a lot more, but he was trying to be positive with the ball, which I'd rather see than someone just going sideways and backwards. So that's what I'll say about Scowen. But with the Oxford, like, we're going on as if just because the Oxford performance was better, Power automatically needs it in. Don't forget, Power's only 1 player. It's a team game. So,
all right. Quickly, Michael.
Just to counter that, then, Power's 1 player. It's a team game, so Power shouldn't get extra scrutiny when the team doesn't play very well. That's to me. No, but what I would say is, I think in last season, Power was kind of guilty of sideways passing. But in the first 2 games, I did see him put in quite a good few forward passes. And let's not forget, it was his shot that the Bristol Rovers keeper somehow tipped onto the post. Otherwise, that would have been the winning goal against Bristol Rovers. But what I would say is, like, how do you view Charlton as different? Like, what are the tactics you deploy against Charlton that what worked against, say, Oxford? And obviously, even though performance wasn't as good, Peterborough, it depends on, is Ledbetter, for example, good to come in and try and break up the play? Because Charlton are going to have to go for it because one, they're at home and they've lost it again today. So that's going to be a big pressure game for Charlton. So do you put Ledbetter in to try and counteract that and then break up their attacks? That's what I'm just asking, what would the tactics be for Charlton?
Right. Oh, go on, Mad Mistake, quick if you want to get in there.
I just see an understanding between Power, Hume and Flanagan. I think them 3 on the left-hand side do pass the ball quite well. That's just what I see. Right. I see Power going forward with Hume.
Right. Well, just very quickly, because Colin Major brings this up anyway. We've always called Scowen from sort of day one, but he says, tell Terry it's Scowen, not Scowen right now. But we've always called him Scowen, and I noticed the commentators now are calling him Scowen. So are we sticking with Scowen or are we sticking with Scowen?
Well, we're there. Me and Sean met the bloke. What game was it? Remember when we seen him? And did he actually say his name was Josh Scowen or Scowen? Can you remember? Because you went, are you Scowen? And he went, yeah.
Josh Scowen, aye. And he didn't sort of like tune it, did he?
He didn't say no, it's Scowen.
But did he not say? Did he not say, are you the dynamic duo? You excuse.
So what we're saying is...
I think he was in a hurry, Dino.
Yeah, he was in a hurry, wasn't he?
He was in a hurry,
because they're calling him pronunciation.
Well, listen, let's decide on this then. Dino, Scowen or Scowen?
Scowen.
Sean, Scowen or Scowen?
Scowen.
Jacob?
Scowen.
Mad Mistake?
I look if Nick Barnes is saying Scowen, clearly his name's Scowen because Nick Barnes is the main man, but I like to call him Scowen.
He's not the main man, Terry. You're the main man.
Exactly. Yes. You're after his job. Michael, Scowen.
Max Power.
That's not.
Yeah, Scowen. I'm too used to it now, so Scowen.
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to call him Josh. Right. Okay. Right. Well, what I wanted. Just very quickly on the chat here. Taffy Mackham, White, the biggest disappointment for him. He has a chance to prove his point and he's missed it, which is where I want to come to. Our forwards, right? Our forward line, our attackers. 3 different forwards he's played now. Up front, he started with Greg in the first game. Then he did Danny Graham, and now he's done Charlie Wyke. How on earth are we supposed to get a consistency, chance for these strikers to actually just because you don't score? Now, for me, all day Will Grigg is my preferred choice without a doubt. I think he's got to give somebody a run of 4 or 5 games at least. Dino, what do you think on the striking situation and the way Parkinson's being?
For me, it just shows how bad our strikers are when nobody wants to buy them. I mean, no one. I mean, there was, according to Ipswich, wanted Wyke at the start of the transfer window, and we all went, well, that's definitely not true. Why would Ipswich want Wyke? I'm sorry, Wyke is not a League One striker. I don't care if he banged in 20 goals for Bradford. I mean, the bloke can't play football. You're knocking up his chest, he loses it. You're knocking his feet, he loses it. He can't dribble. He can't head a ball. I mean, I've never known a striker who was scared of the ball, who runs away from the ball, who doesn't make the right runs. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, Danny Graham, he's probably better than White, but not much better. And you've got a goal scorer in Greg, who kind of get a chance. He gets one game and then gets kicked out the squad. If we've got any chance of going up this season, you've got to play Greg. He's the one who's proven at this level, as everyone likes to say. He's the one who's got the most quality, but yet he's behind Graham and Wyke. So do you put that down to Parkinson, or do you put that down to Greg not performing in training or not performing in matches?
Well, also, what the point you missed out with Greg about him having the pedigree in this league and stuff like that. Also, the fact that I've put money on him to be the league's top scorer as well. So that's another reason for him to be in. Before we pass this one round to you, quickly on the chat, where we at, Umar is saying, why fans saying a point next week will be good at Charlton. We should be going for 3 points and not be scared of no team. I think sensibly, Charlton are a good team just because they've lost again today. You know, a point at Charlton is going to be good. Taffy Mackham on Max Power. This Max Power's biggest club and he knows it. But Ledbetter needing a rest should play one game a week. Sean, our striking situation then. Phil Parkinson, chopping and changing. What do you think he should be doing?
Well, I don't think he's helping any of the confidence of the strikers. I mean, as a manager, he's got three strikers there. As Daniel just says, obviously Will Grigg is he's proven in this league. Charlie White's done it in League Two. I don't think he scored many goals in League One. Danny Graham, I mean, he's done it in the Championship. He's scored goals in the Championship. He's a decent player. Maybe his age is not great, but I would say that Will Grigg should be the main striker. But I don't know what's going on with the striker situation. I mean, I do feel sorry for them in a sense, because they're not getting any service during games, and if they're not getting any service, they're not going to score any goals. I was talking about this yesterday in the interviews, and I think as a manager though, you've got to like tap your, get your arm around your main strike, and say, look, you're my main man. You're going to get us these goals to get us promoters. And if he's chopping and changing them all the time, they're going. It's just like we need to have a consistent striker as well. Like, Will Grigg, he scored 20+ goals twice in this league. He can do it. Give the bloke the service and give him that chance and say, look, you're me man. You're going to go get the goals. Give him a hug, give him a kiss on the cheek and say, look,
on the bottom,
go and get us promoters. You know what I mean? Give them that some confidence, build them up, and because he can do it. And I've got faith in Will Grigg, and he can be on fire, but he's Parkinson is not helping by changing
we saw
things
what you
around.
did.
Like the match.
We saw what you did there, on fire. Michael, our strikers.
Yeah, Charlie White baffles me how he's a footballer. Well, he's obviously done well for himself, don't get us wrong, but I do agree with Sean to an extent about feeling sorry for likes of Graham and Grigg, and even O'Brien to an extent. I don't particularly feel as sorry for White when there was crosses coming into the box, and they were crosses that weren't too high for him to try and head the ball, but he doesn't even bother to try and jump for me. White, like I've said before, White's touch is terrible. It bounced off him so many yards. He gets dominated in the air too easily for his supposed strength, which isn't good enough. And he's rubbish in front of goal. He just doesn't offer enough in terms of what we need to go up. But Phil Parkinson seems to be the only one who's oblivious to this. I can't remember whoever it was in the chat that said, drop a striker just because you haven't scored. Right, well, let's see. If he plays Charlie White next week, well, if that's the case, White shouldn't start against Charlton because he didn't score yesterday. But, like Grigg, for me, and I know you could say Hull hadn't had their best team out. When we played Hull in the Cup, I saw a partnership in Grigg and O'Brien there, and I thought they linked up really well. Yeah. Grigg also had 2 disallowed goals, at least one of which was controversial, very controversial. Now, is Parkinson dropping him because he missed a penalty? If that's the case, that's very naive management from Parkinson. Why on earth can, if you're going to have, I think Dino made a point saying that you need to have, or whoever it was, you need partnerships and you need to play consistently in order to get best out of those partnerships. Why are we not persistent with Grigg and O'Brien in particular? Yeah. Has Phil Parkinson got a vendetta against the likes of those two starting games every week? Maguire's probably, I don't know, say Maguire's out for a while. Hopefully he's not, but say he is. Have a front three of Gooch, Grigg, and O'Brien. Have that. I think that's a good enough front three to cause problems to the majority of teams in this league if you play the right way and play them often enough. So that's the one thing. As much as I've said, wins are wins, no matter how much you get them and who scores them. This is something that we are going to have to address this season if we want to go up. So Parkinson, please open your eyes up and actually solve the problem, mate.
Right, couple of things I want to bring in on the live chat before we pass this around again. Taffy Mackham, it's Power's work off the ball that no one sees, apparently. And also Umar says, what would Sean do if he saw Power on the street? I'll answer that first. Probably ask him for a selfie, I would imagine. He'd do something like that.
I hate you, but I want a selfie with you, mate.
Right, mad mistake. I was striking situation.
I don't believe Sean hates anybody. Right, striking situation. I think
if Power starts next week.
I know. I kind of feel sorry for Will Grigg because I don't think he fits into Parkinson's plans at all. I think Parkinson's style of football doesn't suit Will Grigg. We need to have someone to play the ball on the ground at Will Grigg because hoofing those high balls in the box. Even Charlie White with his height couldn't get the high balls because he can't jump. Will Grigg can't jump much higher. Let's face it, the high balls is no good to Will Grigg. We need the ball on the ground to sort of split open the defence. There's only kind of Gooch, I think, who can sort of run with the ball on the ground and possibly Hume that could get maybe Will Grigg in. We need strikers in the box. We need the striker in the box, sort of goal poaching, 6-yard box to feed on scraps because I just don't think that he wants Will Grigg in his side. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he starts Charlie White next week against Charlton. And it's going to be an absolute shame and it's criminal. We need Will Grigg in for at least 5 or 6 matches. If he keeps rotating the strikers, none of our strikers are going to get above 10 goals a season. They're not even going to get double figures. Will Grigg has to start. He has to start, but we need to get him some assists and some balls on the ground so he can actually put the ball in the back of the net. There's no point running to the corner flag for the ball for your striker. I was sick of seeing Will Grigg almost at the corner flag picking up the ball. He wants to be in the penalty box.
Yep, the voice of reason. Just very quickly before we throw this to Jacob, if you're watching the live stream now, we do appreciate that. We are trying to get our subscribers up. We're trying to get 5,000 by the end of the year. The road to 5,000. So if you're watching, and you haven't subscribed, please just hit the subscribe button for us now, please. It's easy for you to see. It's absolutely free to do. So if you do that, we much appreciate it. And if you've already subscribed, then tell a friend.
Tell your friends, tell your family members,
as well.
Free. Come on, we can do it.
Tell the audience.
We can do it.
So, Jacob, the striking situation.
Right now at Sunderland Football Club, it's like a striker merry-go-round every week. Honestly, I think Phil Parkinson doesn't know which striker he wants to start or give it consistent starts week in, week out. I just don't know right now what he's planning for the games ahead. I mean, is it White started yesterday? He could put O'Brien there next week, and then the next week we could see Grigg there. It just doesn't seem there's a plan in place. And did we do enough to address that issue in the transfer market this summer? I know we brought in Aidan O'Brien, but see, I don't know, was he brought in to be like a main striker, or was he just like someone to
number 10, I think, wasn't he?
Number 10, was it? Something like that. Even on the chat, someone mentioned we missed out on, is it Clark Harris, who I thought is moving very good for Peterborough yesterday. I think he would thrive in that 3-4-3 system that we're currently playing. So right now I just don't know what.
Thanks for Donald for not forking out the money.
For me, on the chat, SCFC Dave 17 says Will Grigg playing off Danny Graham up front, and for me that would be an ideal solution. I think the two of them playing off each other I'd be happy with that. More than happy. Just very quickly again on the chat, Alan French says, do we think Stuart Donald as the final say on players, on who plays, who doesn't play? regarding wages, bonuses, and things like that.
Absolutely.
Do you think? I can't say it myself to that. I think if it's gone to that level where the manager is not being allowed to manage, then I think you'd have to be a very weak manager to put up with that, in my opinion. Sean?
Well, Philly, you got to think about something as well. There's a player out there, obviously, what every Sunderland fan keeps on talking about. He's available on free. He loves Sunderland, supports Sunderland, and we haven't even made any form of contact towards him. So I mean, I don't know if that's a case of Parkinson just doesn't fancy him, and he's obviously thinks McGeady was the problem. He got rid of him, and if he brings Marsden in, that could start again. I just think if there's somebody there and he's got quality and we're crying out for creativity in the middle, why not just go and get him and be ambitious? But Stuart Donald doesn't want to spend. He doesn't want to spend nothing. He hasn't spent nothing this summer. He's bought in all free transfers, I think. So,
well,
exactly.
Well, I think
that should fit in with his budget.
Right. I think we'll come to you next, Dino. I think first of all we'll give a quick plug to the fan reaction videos what Sean and Jacob have done. If you've not seen those, they're on the channel. Catch those. I think it was one of yours, Sean, where somebody mentioned about Madison, and they did state that why has he not gone somewhere else? There must be some underlying problem, and I know this attitude thing keeps creeping up, and that could very well be the thing. You know, if he's in the same ilk of if it's true about McGeady being this bad apple, causing all these problems, then it's like, you know, you're getting rid of McGeady and you're bringing in another one to replace him. I don't know. Dino?
On what you said about Parkinson, I mean, Stuart Donald picking the team or whatever, if Parkinson's going to be like that, he shouldn't be a manager, because if someone else is telling you what you should be doing, well, you should say, well, I thought I was the manager, you're the chairman. I mean, for me, this is probably Parkinson's going to be his last ever job at a big club with a big stadium with a fan base like ours. So, I mean, he is going to be weak-spined, and he's going to bend over to Donald no matter what he says. That's why I wanted someone like Roy Keane to come in when we're after a manager, because Roy Keane would take no shit, in my opinion. But like you say, like everyone says, we've got a yes man, which is like what no one wants. But like I say, I didn't want Parkinson, but we've got him. I've stuck behind him, but I don't believe in the bloke. I really don't. I don't believe in him.
Well, to a certain extent, you know, there will be. You know, I mean, Stuart Donald's his boss, so you know, you can't be turning around saying everything he does going against and no, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. You know, you've got to be clever in the fact that, you know, you want to keep your job, but there's you know, it goes to a certain extent. You've still got to sort of say, you know, you're paying me this money to do my job. You've hired me to do the job, what I'm good at doing. I should be left to do it. Michael, Stuart Donald?
Wouldn't shock us. It wouldn't shock. Yeah, look, well, that might be. Some football clubs do have that, don't they, where the manager doesn't ultimately get to decide who signs the players. But if that's the case, then Phil Parkinson shouldn't be here, really. As far as I'm concerned, look, at the end of the day, well, yeah. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise us. Like I said, but like even when we talk about Madison, for example, you know, we want free transfers. Okay, yeah, you got to look at wages, but Madison's a free transfer. Donald, have you not noticed? Like, don't get me wrong. This attitude thing, I'm kind of getting a bit bored of it because, again, and I know it might not be the same level. Maguire allegedly was involved with the McDonald's thing, and you know, Maguire sometimes has been known to be a bit of a hothead around the training ground, but yet Parkinson's able to get the best out of him. So shouldn't Parkinson back himself to get someone get the best out of someone like Madison? By the way, we won't get him because of the wages, the salary cap. You know, we're not gonna. He's gonna probably want a good amount of wages, so we won't get him. But it's right. I just don't get. If there's any chance we could get him, why you wouldn't? That's
right. Just very quickly on the chat, Nigel Dunn, our friend of the show, says the trouble is we don't know what happens on the training pitch. Now, if only someone on the panel had a drone. Yeah, well, I've got a drone, but the problem is because I'm a grafter and I'm always out delivering parcels now. When they're training, I'm busy ringing doorbells. Mad mistake. Stuart Donald, do you think he's pulling the strings?
I think he is for purchases and bringing players in. Of course he is. Phil Parkinson get some balls or go somewhere else. This is Phil Parkinson's biggest club he will ever manage. It will not get any higher than this level. Phil Parkinson, Sunderland is the highest level that Phil Parkinson will ever manage. This is as good as it gets for him. So why would he not? Why would he walk away? For me, if Stuart Donald said, "Look, you come into the club, you can have some say on the transfers. I'll do my best, but I'm going to be yes or no to do with the prices, to do with the free transfers. I've got the final say." Phil Parkinson's going to snap his hands off and come here because he's not going to go anywhere better than Sunderland. Simple as.
Right. On the chat again, quickly. Aaron James says Maddison wants to come. The reason he isn't coming is above Parkinson, which is sort of what we're saying there. Andrew Elwood says Maddison equals Nile Ranger. Avoid like the plague. Well, you know,
Ranger score goals in this league.
Well, you know,
but Nile Ranger wasn't even a good player, though. Nile Ranger wasn't even a good player.
Well, but he caused havoc, didn't he? I mean, it's a fair point. Jacob, quick as you can, because we're getting pushed for time now. Go on.
Yeah, Stuart Donald right now, I just don't think he's really like that bothered in terms of what play. Even if he is making a start, I think you'll just look to get the cheapest deal, but not actually looking at the ability of whether the player can really affect the team. And I think the main reason he appointed Parkinson in the first place, because I think he looked at the job that he did at Bolton when Bolton were in a lot of financial trouble, but he managed to do a decent job with the players he had there under a low budget. So yeah, Phil Parkinson, I'll back him to get promotion this season. Do I think he's the right man to take us forward in the long run? No. And now, I just feel Stuart, like our club will not go in the right. It doesn't matter whether in the Championship or League One next season, our club will not look to go to that next level with Stuart Donald still like clinging on to any financial success that we have. Right. That just about wraps it up. I'm going to give the last comment to Taffy Mackham, friend of the show on the live chat. Says, mad mistake, you bang on. Parky can't believe his luck. So there you go. Listen, thank you very much for tuning in to another Sunday Bunch Live. We will be back on Thursday night for Thursday Night Live, because we can't think of any better name to call it. So we'll be on possibly, I think we're going to try and see if we can get a Charlton fan on, and we'll have a look at the Charlton game and do some predictions and stuff for that. And from myself, Wee Philly, from Dino, from Sean, from Michael Bowers, from Jacob, the Mad Mistake. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you all back on Thursday. So we'll see you then. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. How are the lads?